Okay, so here we are on the side of my house, and then I've got my neighbor's house here to the left, and this is our next project. I repaired her other door, but we've got some rot issue, and the as you can see here, the wood that was underneath this aluminum threshold completely rotted away. Brick mold is gone, and the jambs here are gone, and then whatever this molding here, this just looks like a 1x2, that's also gone. So we're trying to do this on cheap, so we're going to try and cut this off at a certain height, replicate this jamb. We're going to buy some brick mold and replace it at a certain down and see what we can do to replace. And we'll probably cut this off, somewhere you can see that we got rot in here. So I'm going to cut off somewhere here, and that will be the next project. So let's see what we can do to take this apart. All right, so here's the tools I'm going to start out with, and just going to mark slightly above any rotted areas, so it's going to be a little bit higher on this hinge side than over here on this side, and mark that and cut it out with my oscillating tool, and I'm going to set you up in a time lapse. Okay, so I've got this cut, but of course, as you can see down here, I've got the hinge. The bottom hinge is attached to this lower piece, so I'm going to have to take these screws out, then I can remove that piece, and then I have to manufacture some new pieces. I can keep this old profile here, and I'll show you what I've got in the garage to try and reproduce this, and I'm using some treated wood that I had left over from something else. So next up, let me show you what we got in the garage. So that's the piece from this side of the door. Okay, so here's what we've got. I have this treated 2x6, and I've put it through my thickness planer to get it down the same thickness as these two sides that I've taken out. So just going to choose an area on this board that doesn't have previous holes to get these two pieces out of. So got this hole right here. I'll probably cut this off around here, and then there's enough length at the bottom where it'll be above these holes down here. And so I'm going to have to do a little cutting on the table saw to make this come out. But the first thing I'm going to use is my chop saw. I'm going to get the 2 sections of this board. The other section is going to come from down here in this clear area for that other piece, which is slightly longer. And it's right here. So probably somewhere in here. So it'll miss that knot down there. It'll miss those knots. They'll be cut kind of across here. So since it's a treated piece of wood, it shouldn't, and I'm also going to treat the bottom when I paint the bottoms so that it doesn't wick water up, which is I think what happened to these, that the bottoms are never painted, and so water just wicks up the end grain, and that's why it's rotted. All right, let me cut these out, and then I'll show you a little bit of work on the table saw. Okay, I've cut these pieces to rough length for the 2 door jambs, and I cut a piece of the old jamb left. So now you can see I'm going to have to cut this down here, and then I'm going to have to do a rabbet, and then cut this notch in here where the weather stripping goes. So let me figure out how to do that, and I'll show you. So this board has a little bit of snipe on both ends from the surface planer, and I don't need this much, so I'm going to take it off there. So again, I'm going to use this piece of scrap from the old one to first measure this depth. So I'm just going to cut that . And I have to remember that I'm doing a left and a right. So I'm going to turn you off, and I'm going to cut this, and then I'll turn you back on. Okay, I cut those on my table saw, and of course that was scary as crapola, because you're cutting these big rabbets out, and the blade's really high, and you can't use the splitter because the blade is trapped in there that's for the weather stripping to go in this groove. And but it pretty much matches up. I just need to do a little bit of sanding down the length of this portion of it right here. Sand this and round over the edges, and then test fit it and cut it to final length. And that should be it for these. And I have to do the rebate for the hinges. But that'll be coming up, and then I have to, of course, get them spaced in there just right. And let me do a little bit more work and get these sanded, and I'll get back to you. So as I prep to get those two pieces in, the jambs, I'm trying to take out, I'm not sure what this is, some kind of rubber membrane on top of the concrete. I'm going to just use some butyl tape, and then I'm going to see if I can get away with not replacing whatever wood was in here, because of the way this threshold is, it'd be very hard to get a couple pieces of wood in here. But I'll see how this goes together, because this and this other piece over here, I think I can just probably install these in a bed of caulk with some butyl tape underneath, and then have the pieces on the ends, and it should be fine. So let me clean off this rubberized material here, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've got some parts cut, dry fit here, and there's some silicone back in here that I'm going to have to take out. And I looked at my supply of silicone, and there's nothing that is still workable, so I'm going to have to buy some when I go to get this brick mold here. I've got some wood to put for this molding here, just a piece, but it's looking pretty good from the threshold's not in yet. I did have some caulk, which I could, it's a two-piece threshold, so that still has to go in, and that's in clamps right now. So I've got the hinge rebaited, and those are just dry fit. Need to paint, caulk. I think I'm gonna get some silicone, some brick mold, and that should be it. So I think once I get caulk in these joints here, those will kind of disappear, and I've got some, I'll nail that off so that it's more flush. I've got some shims back there that I need to take out, but so far it's looking pretty good. Good test fit. Okay, let me catch you up. I've got the two pieces and the threshold in place, and they're set in 100% silicone. It's in the old position. The door closes. I need to get the screws on for the hinges. I've got these kind of roughly in place, and I'm going to need to put caulk to fill this gap, and I'm going to do that tomorrow when these are, this one's a little bit worse over here, but caulk will fill those, and got to use paintable caulk, again the 100% silicone, not paintable here. And then I need to put the brick mold on and this other piece of molding here, and that'll be tomorrow. But just wanted to catch you up. I got a drill, so I can pre-drill for these holes, because one of them goes through into the stud, and the rest of them just go into this treated board here, but they're pretty thick screws, so I wanted to pre-drill. So let me get that done. So that's it for today. We're going to let everything dry and then do some more tomorrow. Okay, so that's the first coat, and I am going to try and get this joint right here sanded tomorrow, and as well as I'm not sure. There's a joint right here that does not look good in this brick mold. So I'm going to try and make those joints look better tomorrow. A little bit more caulk or something. We'll see. And then I'll paint the rest of the trim all the way up to the top here. But right now, just getting some on this bare wood. And that's it.